Because After Effects is one of the industry standards in doing special effects work, it has to understand a wide range of file types. And the reason it's important for you to know the most important ones is because chances are good you're working with someone else. For example, I'm working on a short film with a partner of mine in New York, and we have to kind of know a little tiny bit about each other's parts of the industry so we can make sure that we're sending the files that we need to do the work. So while he's taking photographs, I have to tell him what file format I can use and vice versa. Also, because I'm working on a Macintosh and some of my clients work on Windows PCs, we often, sometimes, well, not often, but we do have problems once in a while with file types. For example, a Mac needs special software sometimes to understand AVI files. And you have to know these things, and you have to be able to communicate to your clients or your collaborators what you have as a platform. So I tell people, I'm on a Mac, guys. Alright, so make sure you send me Mac compatible files, and here's what I can use. So let me go ahead and give you an example. I'm going to go to File menu. I'll choose Import, and I'm going to go to File. Once we're here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply focus on right here where it says Enable. And we're going to click on this little drop-down list, and you can see that, wow, After Effects really can understand a lot of stuff. It's like we are the world. So I'm going to talk about some of the most prominent ones and the ones we're probably going to be dealing with in the full course. Alright, so what we have here is some of the Adobe things. For example, there's something that Adobe has in the professional bundles called Dynamic Link, and that's what that is there. So if I'm working with Adobe Premiere Pro, for example, I'll be able to do certain things that would be difficult to do otherwise. So I can open up files here, open up Premiere Pro, make a change, come back to After Effects, and that link is active the whole time. So I can easily come back here, change the color of something, and it will reflect in Premiere Pro. That's just an example of what the dynamic link can do. Adobe Sound Booth is a sound application that you'll be able to use in conjunction with After Effects as well. So any Sound Booth files that you work with, you can bring right on in. Of course, we would expect to be able to open up After Effects projects and templates. Now, the AIFF file format is the audio interchange file format, which is the default audio sound file format for the Macintosh platform. Alright, so if you're working with someone, you can either bring in this file format, you can also bring in the WAV file format, which is .wav on the Windows PC platform. So I work with both, depending on the client. I never really have a problem either way. You can also work with Camera Raw files, which is a file format that is literally raw as far as it's in the camera. It's the 100% full data from that image. So instead of using a little cheap camera to take a picture, a really high-end camera that has raw capabilities is able to capture much more data, and you can bring that data in and manipulate it inside of After Effects. Now my camera can't do it, so I don't even have a nice camera. Sad. But Christmas is coming soon. Now, let's see what else we have. Flash video. So you can bring in any videos that you save from Flash. Alright, another Adobe application which is quite awesome. You can bring in Illustrator files and the PDF or the encapsulated PostScript file format, which is the EPS. We also have the JPEG file format. And by the way, I often work with, as my favorite file formats, the Illustrator file format, the JPEGs, and the TIFF, which is down here. I'll get back to that guy in a second. Now, a JPEG is an image commonly used on the internet, and what it does that makes it different from a GIF file, which is GIF, is that a GIF file is really good for flat colors. So you have your flat orange, you have your flat red, you have your flat green, whereas a JPEG is better at having gradations. So you can go from light blue to darker blue still, and this is a great format for that. Now, I love using Maya, as everybody knows, Maya and Lightwave, and you can bring in your Maya scenes. I can also bring in the MP3 file format, which is audio, MPEG, another file format that's very popular. Let's see here. We also have the OpenEXR file format, which is really cool when you want to bring in special effects from an image itself. So you can do HDR kind of cool things. Photoshop file format, which is very cool because you can bring in your layers and everything. The Portable Network Graphics file format, or PNG, is a file format that allows your files to remember and retain any transparency you have on it. So let's say you're working on a character inside of Photoshop, and the background is transparent. You save it as a PNG, and when you bring it into After Effects, it should respect that transparency. You can bring in a QuickTime file format, which is the Apple created file format, which is pretty much standard everywhere. So QuickTime movies can be brought in very easily. You can bring in an RLA or RPF, which is another file format which also respects the transparency and even different types of data, such as depth, Z depth, and all kinds of stuff that you can really bring into After Effects and apply all kinds of cool special effects to. You have your Swift file format, which is from Flash. Alright, so this is the Flash file format when you save out a file. There's two types of files that you can save from Flash. Alright, you have the FLA file format, which is the Flash actual document. And when you export from Flash, you have the Swift file, which is what you're playing on the internet. Targa is a commonly used file format when you're doing things with 3D models, and it's a nice texture file format that I use quite a bit. We also have TIFF, as I mentioned earlier, which is a tag image file format, which is interchangeable between Macs and Windows PCs, but pretty much all these guys are, for the most part, like JPEGs and all that kinds of stuff. And last but not least, I mentioned before, the WAV file format. So these are the file formats that After Effects understands, and it pretty much covers everything in the world. So you really shouldn't have much of a problem communicating with the client the types of files you need. Just make sure you tell your client that you're working on whatever platform you have so that you can really avoid any kinds of clashes. Because lots of times my clients send me PC files like AVIs and I have to convert them somehow to get them to work. So those are the file formats that you can use inside of After Effects.